Hello, and welcome back to another Pen Talk. Thanks for tuning in. Today we're going to take a little side journey. The thought came to my mind is, what strange, bizarre, exotic, unique pens do you have? So this pen first came to my mind, and I happened to have come across it when I was looking for the Pelikan Twist. So the other pens here in this group I had relegated to a special spot in a storage tray. And each of them have an interesting visual story to tell. And here as a point of reference is a Kaweco Sport, just to show you that these are all small pens, but as I'll reference in some other videos, can be very big writers. So this is the smallest pen that I have, maybe the smallest pen I've ever seen. The only markings on it are on the nib. A couple turns to get that cap off. And it says Peter Pan. And it's a 14 karat gold nib. I've read it's a number 0 nib, so it's the smallest nib made. And it has decent flex to it. Mr. Brown did a review on it. I'll put a link above. This is just eyedropper fill. Somebody said it takes 0.4 milliliters of ink, so it's not going to be a lot of ink. This cap is a celluloid, kind of a blue celluloid, kind of interesting. The barrel is definitely ebonite, along with the feed and the section. And these small pens were originally designed only to be worn in a lanyard, and sometimes they sold a lanyard with the pen. So this is made by a company called Salz, S-A-L-Z. They were started in the 20s, and this is their first pen. And Peter Pan was a line of pens. The first ones were very well made, 14 karat gold nibs. The pen continued to get larger until they finally put a bladder in it with a lever fill. They made it in a number of varieties. Here's some examples of what the pen looked like. So it was a unique little slice of vintage history here. I have a number of Salz pens. I don't know whether I've ever done a review. I don't think I have, but the ones I have were towards the latter part of their manufacturing process, and they were not, to me, of very good quality, kind of like a tier 4 pen, so they didn't endear themselves to me. But this pen certainly finds a place in my collection. This is the most amazing novelty fountain pen I've ever seen. I mean, it's from the Kirin Fountain Pen Company Limited. It says Kirin Fountain Pen on it, and it has a depiction of that mythological beast, dragon, goat, deer. I mean, there's a lot of history behind that creature from both Chinese. It started in the Chinese and was spelled a little differently, and then it moved over to Japan. It was supposedly related to rulers or important people. I just think it's amazing how they replicated the bottle cap on top of this design. I was in Japan in the late 70s for a number of months on a work project, and that's where I think I picked this up. I could have also picked this up in a flea market somewhere, and I'm sorry to say I have no recollection of where I picked it up, but hopefully you can enjoy the visuals. And this unscrews. It's not the easiest thing to unscrew, but it comes out. And there you see an actual fountain pen. This is, I would assume, the reservoir for ink. And then this screws onto this bottle. And it actually makes for an almost usable length. Not that I would ever use this, but as a novelty pen, I think it's just amazing. I really think it's cool. This is actually a functional pen, much to my amazement. You have a hand-cut ebonite feed with a nice filler tube here that goes into this part that unscrews from, call it the barrel, but it's the beer bottle. And it's a nice small nib. It's been a little bit of a plating worn off in the front. I don't think this pen was ever inked and probably never will be. It is certainly in the collector's item category. I think it's good to take a close-up look at this feed. It's definitely hand cut, and it's interesting how that breather tube here probably feeds that hole, which then feeds the channel going into the nib. The only way I can think of filling this is eyedroppering it or syringing it through this opening where I pulled out the nib and feed. This doesn't come out, at least it doesn't come out easily, and to me I don't have any desire to force anything in this vintage funky beer bottle pen. Speaking of other unique, interesting pens, here's a pen that here appears to be made out of maybe bamboo or definitely some type of wood, and the cap is cracked, which is not unusual. Crescent filler, which is definitely unusual. Says made in Japan on the crescent. Nothing on the other side. I wouldn't say it's a very high quality pen, but certainly has some interesting design features to it, and when we remove the cap we'll see another one. It's a glass nib. The threads here at the end of the section. This ring here comes right off. Like I said, it's not a high quality pen, but it certainly is something that is in the unique category and technically could be usable, you know. But what a combination. Crescent filler, glass nib, made out of wood, made in Japan. And again, this was probably bought when I was there for a while in the late 70s, because I was into fountain pens then. I actually traveled with vintage pens, some Watermans and Parkers and the like, and dealt with occasionally having some ink episodes, but did not stop me from enjoying my pens. And since Japan was a fountain pen country, I also enjoyed the time I spent there. Pen number 3 in my unique pen video series. Nothing particularly special about this pen. Definitely shows its age. Lever fill. Just a typical unscrew. You get black section here, but it has a nice 14 karat nib. Unlike the 01 on Peter Pan, I would say this is a 1. Certainly not the size of the 2 that Waterman has, and of course it's a little flexy. So you may look at this and say, doesn't this look a little bit like the Esterbrook purse pen? And I'll say, yeah, but it's less than half the size. So, and this is considered a small pen, and this is a diminutive pen. And again, we have that ring that you would wear as a lariat. Yeah, maybe someday I might get motivated and just restore this pen, but right now we're just going to keep it in as found condition. Pen number 5 in our series. Why is this pen here? Because it's of the same type of size, and it has an excellent celluloid. It is missing a band here. And next time I go to a pen show, at least in some of the pen shows I go to, there's people that sell like tons of parts for pens. So they sell cap rings, and you bring a pen and you find a cap ring that fits, and for a minimal amount you can restore the pen to a little bit more normal condition. Unscrew cap, and we see another nice feature. We have another gold nib. Really nice long tines on there. Just a classic comb feed on the back. You know, warranted nibs were kind of like the generic gold nibs, but I'm certain if you wanted to, you could have warranted run some branded nibs for you. And as we expect, the nib has a decent amount of flex to it. It's another like I say, just interesting, funny, unique little pen that looks pretty. This is number 6 in our small pen group. And this pen represents like a smaller version of a big pen. You have your lever filler, cap band, you have a clip, you have this tiered design on the top of the cap similar to Waterman number 7, replicated there at the bottom, cap unscrews, and we'll see a small section here, what we would expect. And this is the first one that has a steel nib, and it's a well sharp. You know, there were so many pen manufacturers back in the day that they come and they go very, very quickly. So this is, like I said, an example of a small pen made to emulate a bigger pen. You may say, Chris, are you done? And I go, no, I got a special guest appearance from this little guy. Just saw him going through my drawers. You know, again, just a unique design, a little bit of a fat boy design. The clip needs to be adjusted. But if we take off the cap, we'll see what happens to a few vintage pens is this steel nib is just totally corroded away. Not unusual. Electroplating doesn't do any good. So I could restore this pen. I think it would come out pretty nice. Certainly would be unique. No branding, so we don't know who may have made this or when. I've definitely put all these pens in the 20s, and maybe at the 30s, but mostly all in the 20s. Video that goes on forever. So in preparing for this video and doing my research on Peter Pan, I went on eBay and I saw a lot of them selling for a lot of money, but I saw this one at a reasonable price. I put in a Schneip bid, and much to my amazement, I won it. Cute. Smallest combo pen that I own. And it is on the small side. My hands are not that large. Has a steel nib, nothing special, but it's engraved with Peter Pan, so it's on the clip and the nib, the branding. And the other thing that's nice is it's octagonal. It has facets in it, which make it kind of fun, kind of different. I think this is a rolled sheet of that nice ivory and black celluloid. So that's it. This is the as received condition, which I think is quite good considering the age of this pen. This is also probably from the 20s. So my little pen adventure continues. So we've come to the end of this video. Hopefully you found it interesting, intriguing, a little bit of look at history, some pretty strange writing instruments. So I wanted to put things in perspective. So here's a very small Waterman. It's a safety pen. This is what sterling looks like when it's all tarnished. And if we look at the bottom of the barrel, which is where Waterman puts their labeling, we'll see it's a baby. But this is still a little bit bigger than the other pens in this group, and this is a classic 52.5 V, but this is a 452 half V because it has a sterling overlay, and this one isn't slightly as tarnished as the other one. You know, just an unscrew classic number 2 Waterman nib. So that's my little journey into these unique small pens, and I did a video on small vintage pens, which I'll put a link to above, and I think they're great pens. I think they're unique, they're enjoyable. It's interesting to see how they downsize a writing instrument and still make it somewhat functional. So hopefully this is giving you a little bit of a smile, maybe. Let you see a little bit of the variety that fountain pens can come in. So may you have many great writing experiences, put ink on paper, put some thoughts down for posterity, or just maybe to kindle a fire with later on. So we've reached the end of this video. Thank you for watching. Until the next video, bye for now.